So guys, I gotta be honest with you, I've got more than a few sample libraries and plugins that I don't really use that much anymore. Sometimes I'm a sucker for good branding and advertising. Sometimes I convince myself that a product might be really useful, but it ends up collecting digital dust. Probably more than a few of you watching have had a similar experience. But what about the stock instruments and plugins that come with your DAW? Are they really that bad? Why is it that we often think of them as lesser quality than third-party software? Well, in some cases that might be the truth, especially in terms of sampled instruments. But if you happen to be a Logic user, then you already know there's a lot to work with. And you might be surprised to know that it is entirely possible to write, mix, and master a best-selling track for a music library like Motion Array and earn thousands of dollars in a single month using nothing but Logic. Today, I'm bringing back my good pal, Alex B, onto the channel, and we're gonna have a quick chat about his meteoric ascent to the #1 best-selling spot on Motion Array, and he's gonna share some wisdom and insight with us. But quickly, before I do that, just a heads up for anyone out there who happens to be a Logic user and is interested in leveling up their production skills, my good pal George has put together an absolutely stellar course on Logic Pro that covers all aspects of the DAW from top to bottom. And this is not just another boring course where someone is talking through all the features and what they do without really showing you how to actually use it. George shows you how it's done, creating music the whole way through the course. Session files included. The dude is a killer musician, and he also happens to teach Logic for a living. He's been doing it professionally for 15 years now, so the man is qualified. I got a link to his course in the description of this video. Go check out the curriculum, go see what it's all about. It is an affiliate link, so if you feel like this course is for you, then you'd be supporting both myself and my pal George. Okay, so speaking of using Logic to its maximum potential, let's go check in with Alex. Alex, welcome back to the channel, man. Tell me about how your year has been so far on Motion Array. You've had a pretty wild ride. Can you tell me a bit about that and maybe just like what you've learned so far this year from your success there?
All right. It's really good to be here again, Steve. Thanks for having me. And my year on Motion Array so far has been wonderful. I had a great start with my January. I happened to have a track picked by the staff, and it was #1 for mostly of almost the whole month of January.
Yeah.
And I had lots of downloads, and I had an unbelievable payout of over $3,000, man.
Amazing.
That was amazing. And February was not so good. So, but no problem. I had a great January. So we know how it all evens out. And now I'm having a pretty interesting March. So it's been really good so far. I was listening to your podcast with Eric, the latest one about how to stand out in the crowd of creators and how to be creative, but still work in the right areas. And it was really funny when you talked about my bass solo there, man.
Yes, yeah. I love
or that
bass
track
solo.
Welcome Home, because that was one of my boldest moves in terms of creativity, and I decided to stick with it. I almost chopped that bass solo off, but I decided to keep it, and it worked. And of course, I'm not convinced that the whole success of that track was because of that bass solo, but I think that the biggest thing I learned from this whole experience is that we must be faithful to who we are as musicians, as composers, and as human beings, and try to put that human energy into our music.
We got to talk about Logic, because it just blows my mind that you created these tracks just using like only Logic, stock VSTs, plugins and sounds from the loops and such. I just think that's so cool. I've had a tendency to kind of write off stock stuff, over the years, and you've really inspired me to kind of dig back into what was there the whole time. So I'm curious if you have anything you could speak on with regards to Logic specifically. Like, are there any features in Logic that you really that you love? Is there a reason why you use Logic, and is there any like favorite VSTs, plugins and stuff that you just think you couldn't live without?
Yeah, sure. And one thing it's interesting to mention is that my first experience with music production happened around 2004, and the DAWs were much simpler. They
Oh
didn't
yeah.
have any stock sounds or fancy plugins or anything. And then I was playing live gigs with bands and maybe as a solo artist, just playing the guitar and singing at restaurants and bars for a long time. And I came back to music production in 2020. I had a Mac and I was looking for the best solutions for that in the Mac ecosystem. Then I found Logic and decided to give it a try. Actually, my my first experience with GarageBand.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man, I fell in love with it. And I remember the first track ever I made with on a Mac was with GarageBand, and I sent it to Audio Jungle. It got accepted,
Oh yeah, no way.
and it got a sale like a week after.
Oh
And you
cool.
know what's the craziest thing about it is that I didn't really know how to mix right and to make it sound good. And I sent them a mono version of the track, and it's still there, and
Oh
it got
really?
sold
Amazing. Does
more
it?
than once,
Oh
more
yeah.
than one people bought it. Then I decided to purchase a license to Logic and upgrade to GarageBand's big brother.
Yeah, right, right.
And that was a crazy ride because it opened up so much of my creativity because especially because of the stock sounds. I decided to before buying third party stuff, I decided to explore what I already had in my hands.
Yeah, beautiful.
And there's a lot of things there. The virtual instruments sound amazing, and the plugins and the stock sounds, the loops and the MIDI packs they have. It's all so useful. And
Yeah.
one very interesting aspect about it is that they keep updating their sounds.
Yeah, right. If you have any advice for anybody that's like just getting into music production, maybe just trying to figure out like music licensing, stock licensing or sync licensing, whatever, maybe just trying to make some income from their music. I think you've been a real inspiration for a lot of people in the Production Music Academy, as well as just the people who have heard you speak on my YouTube channel. What kind of words, like what kind of simple advice could you give to anybody just looking back at your own trajectory over the last year or two?
One thing I can tell for sure is that those who see some success in this are the ones who don't quit because it's very easy to quit. And rejection can be a really, really tough pill to swallow. First thing is try and learn how to deal with rejection and remember that it's not personal at all. The person rejecting your music is rejecting your music, and that is the music you are able to do at that specific moment in time, and
Yes.
you're eventually getting better later. And the other aspect that is really key to me is worry less about the technical aspects of music production and more about the musical ideas you put into your compositions. It can be overwhelming when we just jump into it. So there's a computer, the instruments all around and your MIDI controller, and you have to make it all work. And the VSTs, the plugins, and all that stuff is amazing. And there's a lot of marketing around that stuff that
Yeah.
the companies just want you to buy more and more and more.
Yeah.
When actually what you really need are good musical ideas, ideas that work for what your tracks are for the real purpose of your tracks, which is to be the background for somebody else's video. So
Right.
once I understood that my music's not the main star of the show, and that I must write cool and interesting stuff that is supposed to be background, that I must make room for dialogue, I must make room for transitions in the video, for the edit points, for the video to work. Once I started understanding that a bit well, I started seeing more results and referencing. That's the biggest thing to me
Yeah.
nowadays.
Same. Same.
You learn
Referencing is.
from listening
Yeah.
to other people's work. And when I'm listening to reference tracks, I just take lots of notes and I put those tracks in my Logic session and I map out the arrangement.
Awesome.
And so it takes a lot of time, but after I started doing that more diligently, I started seeing more results.
What's next for you, man? What do you think you'd like to get into, like more sync licensing, more exclusive stuff, TV production libraries, that kind of thing, or are you going to continue with? I'm sure you're going to continue with Motion Array for the foreseeable future, and hopefully things will continue to go well there. But custom production work, like what would you like to get into, like over the next, in the short term or the long term?
Yeah, I've been working to get into Artlist. I think it's a really good place to showcase our work, and I love the how it overlaps between stock music and sync music because I can see from your experience that some of your music ends up on TV and
Mm-hmm.
others go to YouTube and but it's everywhere and you can grow your streaming platforms like Spotify
Yeah.
the number of listeners will go up too. So I'd really like to get into art list, and so I'm still trying to figure out what I can make that will fit their library because each library is a completely different animal, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And
Yeah.
the music that works for Motion Array doesn't exactly work for art list, and it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
I'd really like to get into a sync library, and it's a completely different kind of work. And one thing I really love is education. I've been a teacher for over 20 years now, and I love sharing stuff that I've learned. And this is just inside me, and I want to spend time in the academy and keep helping people improve and hopefully see some success too because it feels just great. It's really rewarding. Getting accepted by another library, it's like a victory to me too. The teacher in me gets happy
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
time I see somebody's success. And because I don't really have much high expectations with this music career. I don't want to be the next superstar or anything like that, but it's really rewarding. Of course, I love the money. I love the big payouts, and I'm really interested in that too. Yes, but it's much more than that to me. It's much more,
Yeah.
and especially in terms of validation, because I've been a musician for my whole life, almost my whole life, and only now I have the feeling that my music is actually good for some people and for some people who are not my friends and family they are just strangers who like my music because of my own music, not because of me or because they know me or they have some kind of attachment to the
Yeah.
person, but it's a more objective thing and it gives me a lot of confidence on my music, on my mixing mastering skills to go on. It's amazing. And I must I must stress that I owe a lot of that to you because I've had the best teacher here
Oh,
and I
thanks,
still
buddy.
have you around, and it's amazing to to have people around you, people that push you forward. And this is what you do.
Thanks, man. Well,
Thanks,
yeah,
man.
man. It's been such a pleasure to have you in the academy, and you being a huge inspiration to the Discord community as well, for sure. And speaking of sharing things that you've learned, I want to just shout out your YouTube channel, which is something I believe that you're going to be adding some content to pretty soon, hopefully. Everybody follow Alex B TV Music. This is a channel that's coming up, but hopefully we can get some people to follow you there before you put some new content out anytime soon. Or when can people expect that?
Yeah, probably by next week. Yeah. I
Yes,
decided to
sweet.
show my face on my YouTube channel, and it's just a consequence of my whole experience here in this production music journey. And I love to reach out to people to show what I'm doing and to help them out to listen to their music and we can all grow together. So I'm putting some content out. Actually, there's a track breakdown, a more detailed track breakdown for that most successful one of mine, the Welcome Home track. That's my
Sweet.
first one on my YouTube, probably out next week.
That's great. I can't wait, man. And I'm always trying to convince. It's not for everybody, YouTube, but I'm always trying to convince music producers and artists to put themselves out there a little bit more. And it was kind of like an uncomfortable learning process for me at first, but I've gotten so much out of it from just sharing my thoughts and then sharing my work, and it's been such a cool experience. And the whole community academy and everything has really kind of sprung up from just that simple decision to put myself out there a little bit and share my work. So I'm glad to see you doing that too.
No, thanks, man. I know it's certainly going to bring me more opportunities, and you have to put your put your face out there
You don't have
and
to,
just
but it could be fun. It could be
yeah,
good.
it can be fun. But I think I'm ready for this now.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Yeah,
Well, thanks so much for chatting with me today, and look forward to seeing that. And yeah, go follow Alex B.
thank you, man.
So to be honest, Alex has totally inspired me to dig back into Logic's stock VSTs, and we've been actually working together on some amazing Logic templates, which will live on productionmusictools.com pretty soon. I'm also working on some Cubase templates as well, and the templates that I've had here on the site that have been live for some time now have been downloaded thousands of times. These templates have been really helpful for composers. Feel free to check out some of the other products that I've got here. There's even some freebies you can download as well. Alex's track, Roaming Free, is now live. You can see exactly how Alex put everything together, all the processing, all the source material he used. Definitely worth checking out, especially if you're into creating hip hop. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to leave a comment below. Let me know which DAW you're using and your favorite stock tools that you use in your tracks. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and go follow Alex B's YouTube channel and check out the other resources in the description of this video below. DAW templates, Logic course, Production Music Academy. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. As always, happy composing. I'll see you next time. Bye.